Hello, everyone. So today, the project that I'm working on, I've actually been in the process of this project already for quite a few months. Probably since last October. So like 7, 8 months already, and it's not done yet. Um, so last October, my sister-in-law and I went to the Lambtown Festival. And if you don't know what it is, it's for fiber people, all natural fibers, sheep shearing, the knitters, all different kinds of things like that on that lines. Anyway, we went to this fiber festival. I had never been to it before, never been to anything like it before. I found it a lot of fun, but I'm a crazy fiber person. So I did not know that you could spin camel fiber. And I had seen it there and I was in love with it as soon as I saw it. It is the softest, most luxurious fiber I've ever felt. And I've been working with alpaca lately, which is very soft. I actually got some Angora recently, but let me tell you, camel is so soft and oh, it's just amazing. So this is I bought this great big hank of it. They actually it comes in a big thing like this. So this is something different, but it comes in a big thing like this. And I got that, and this was still I was still a beginner at spinning, and I the only spindle I had at the time was this handmade spindle I had made. I actually ended up making two just the same, and it's just a dowel and a little wood um, wheel and a cup hook. So it's really basic. It works. It's not the best, but it works. Now I'm lucky, and my husband makes these absolutely beautiful spindles for me, and they just spin amazingly. So I love that, and I don't really use this one now, but that's what I was using at the time. So this is what I actually used to spin all this camel on. And this was my last little itty bitty bit that had been on the spindle. So this is all still a single ply. And I spun it onto the two spindles and then plied it from these with my spinning wheel. And once that was done, this is what I came out with. This was the last bit that I had actually spun up, mainly because I had forgotten to video myself. I videoed myself spinning with the spindle, but not plying it. So I spun up some more so I could ply it and record it. So you will see those clips here in a little bit in this video. But so I had this was the last bit I had spun up, and this still actually has to have another hot bath to set the twist. So it's not totally done, but this is totally done. This is all spun up camel. Isn't that beautiful? And it's so soft. It's just, I mean, it's not like perfect because I've still been learning. And this time, especially, this was still one of the very first things I had spun. So you can see thicker areas and thinner areas in what I did. You can see now that I'm figuring out what I'm doing a little bit better. This is what I'm currently spinning, and it's all pretty consistent and pretty fine. So another beautiful spindle that my husband made. So anyway, so now what am I going to do with this? Well, it took me quite a while to figure that out too, because I was like, okay, it's just the idea of having something that I could say, oh, it's made from camel. And I didn't really know what to do. And then my sister-in-law was visiting and I was showing it to her. And I said, I'm thinking I might even crochet a little camel and I'd have a camel made from camel. And she said, oh, I have the perfect pattern for you. And she did. So this, isn't he cute? I mean, come on. Such a cute little guy. So that is the pattern that I'm going to do. She gave me the pattern and that's what I'm planning to do. So I haven't done that yet. And of course I will be recording as I do that. But that's my next step. But he's mostly the brown, which is perfect. His little camel color. And then he's got white eyes. So I figure I will use some of the white alpaca that I have done, which alpacas and camels are related. So that kind of fits. So I'll use some of the white alpaca to do his eyes. And I'm not really sure what I'll use for his pupils yet. But I guess we'll figure that out when we get there. So I was looking at the pattern, and the pattern says worsted or bulky weight yarn. Okay, so now I need to figure out if my yarn is going to work. And I've got this handy dandy little tool, which is really cool. And I can lay my yarn. You know what? I'm going to put you on table view so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this little thing here is really neat because it helps you figure out your size of yarn without having to do all kinds of other stuff. So I just have to see what I have here. But as you can see, like I said before, I have thick areas and I have thin areas. So my thick areas end up being a super bulky. But my thinner areas end up being a DK to worsted weight. So it's going to go back and forth. But this says worsted to bulky weight. So I think I'm going to be okay. And, you know, I'm not being judged on this or anything. This is just because I want to do this. So I am going to work on crocheting this now. And I'm just going to show you a little process of the spinning and the plying. And see how it goes. So this is my drop spindle. So as promised, here I was working on spinning the camel fiber. This was that second round that I talked about that I did specifically so that I could show you guys how I had done the process. So, and yes, I do have this sped up a little bit. Didn't want you to be here all day. You know, it's already a long video anyway. So, just drafting and spinning. And like I said, this spindle does not work as well as some of my others, but it did what I needed it to do. So here I am plying the two threads that I've spun. I'm now plying them together to create the yarn. This is actually a really relaxing process. I really enjoy spinning on the wheel. If you hadn't figured that out already, I think I've done a few things already about spinning. And I'm still considered a novice because I have not even been doing this a whole year yet. But let's see, I now have, what, 6 spinning wheels and countless number of spindles and types of spindles. So yeah, I kind of fell down that rabbit hole pretty fast. I actually just finished processing some gray alpaca, some black alpaca, some gray wool, a full fleece of Shetland. This is white alpaca here that I decided to use for the eyes. And now I'm starting on Camille, the camel, made from camel. So I actually took some of that white fleece, the white alpaca, um, a few days ago and decided to dye it. I had made a dye from a bunch of geranium um, uh, petals, and it made a beautiful red dye. And I had looked up that you could do it with geranium. So I did my mordant and my fiber and everything, and I set it to dye. And when it came out, oh yeah, here I was looking at these little eyes to put on there. Did not look quite right. So break out the spindle, break out some of that black alpaca I was talking about, and I spun up a little bit and made the pupils. So his eyes are completely alpaca. So anyway, I was dyeing this alpaca, and that beautiful red dye I had made ended up being more of a brown. And as the alpaca was coming out of the dye, it actually looked about the same as this camel fiber. Um, and then it rinsed out to almost like a corn silk cream color, very, very light. So was not almost not worth dyeing. So I'm now starting to stuff him because you stuff him as you go, and I'm stuffing him with sheep wool that I've processed. It's Suffolk sheep wool, and it's a very short staple fiber. I can't do a whole lot with it. So and I actually this wool at one point had gotten attacked by moths, so there's probably a lot of breaks in it. And I washed it thoroughly since that had happened, and cleaned it all up and everything. And you'll see in a minute, I decide to actually put a little bit of lavender in the center of his body, so he's got the aroma scent of him, which I love anyway. And supposedly, lavender is supposed to be a deterrent for moths. But I have had some people tell me that that's, in a sense, like an old wives' tale and doesn't actually work. I don't know, but he's got lavender in his belly, so he smells good. But I was trying to make him all um, from natural fibers, since his body main part was of the camel fiber. So he's got the alpaca eyes, camel for most of him, and Suffolk sheep in his belly or in his stuffings, and then the lavender too. And the lavender was lavender I had harvested from my garden a couple of years ago. So I've thoroughly done him from start to finish. And no, I did not make the crochet hook that's sitting there. That was done by a woman. She's on at Etsy and on Instagram under My Darn Yarn, and she makes some beautiful crochet hooks. So that was one of hers. So his little head's done. Now we get to start on his body. So the camel fiber is really kind of interesting. I had never realized before I found this that you could actually even spin camel. And they, like a lot of sheep, actually have what's called a guard hair. And they have it so that their outer hairs that we would normally touch if we were to touch a camel are going to be coarser. But their undercoat is really, really soft. And that's what this is that soft undercoat. My husband and I were driving out in the country near us the one day, and not total country, but I mean it was out away from town, larger properties around the houses, cattle and different things, and horses. So this one house we drive by had this field in front of the house, like a horse pasture. Don't think anything of it, just like most of the other houses in the area. And all of a sudden, I had him stop and back up because I realized it wasn't horses in the field, it was camels. There were three camels in this yard in front of these people's house, right out of town, and I'm like, it's not an area that you would normally see camels, and you might, like, circus comes to town or something and you see camels, or but they had camels in their front yard. I cannot believe it. It was really kind of neat. So we have camels near us. I kind of want to drive back over there sometime just so I can go see the camels. There's my lavender. I was trying to decide how I wanted to put the lavender in, if I wanted to use those little gossamer bags or something else, and I ended up pulling out some of this fabric I had, and it's a kind of a kind of like a tulle fabric, but it's soft and stretchy and worked perfectly. So I just put a little bunch in the center here, and I'm not trying to stitch it up or anything. This is not going to get really moved around once it's inside, so I just did two little folds into the packet, and then use a little bit of wool and wrap that around it too, and he now has a lavender tummy. Worked really well, smells really good, best of both worlds. As I had spun the camel up, it wasn't quite as soft, obviously, as the original fiber, and I plus I was still learning how to spin when I was spinning this. So, like I said before, there's thicker parts and thinner parts, and those thinner parts are spun a lot tighter and they're a lot less soft. So I wasn't sure how soft he would actually come out when he was done, because to me the yarn had not come out as soft as I had hoped for. But he is actually really soft and cuddly and everything. He's squishy. He's super cute. Can't tell it yet, but he will be super cute. So what's funny is actually when he got to this point, once I got his head sewed on, I kept looking at him, and he kept making me think of something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I'm like, there's something he's making me think of. This, I'm like, lost soul or something. And I finally figured it out. In the original Little Mermaid, when you go down to Ursula's caverns, she's got all these like lost souls that she's trapped, different people that she's tricked and stuff. And he reminded me of one of those little lost souls down there, especially the one of King Titan. Except he doesn't have the mustache, but he he had that look of this King Titan's lost soul. I actually did take a picture and put it side by side of the partial camel and King Titan's lost soul. It was pretty funny. At least I thought so. Might have just been funny to me. So now he's got a head, he's got a body. So now I need to work on his legs. He needs something to stand on. So while I was editing this video, I realized there was a number of times that I thought I had hit record, and I think I was hitting pause and vice versa. So there was stuff that I had recorded that I was off screen for, and then things I thought I had recorded that were not actually there. So I did these 2 ears, and obviously I did something wrong on the second one, and that did not quite work right. That was kind of funny. I'm thinking I didn't get enough stitches in it, and it made it really long instead of, short. And since I can't have two different size ears, I had to redo that ear. So here, if you watched my last video, you saw this little tiny anvil that was made by a friend of ours. That's what I'm using to poke out these little ears. It was just the right size. It was perfect for poking these little ears in. So, yeah, and I got off screen here again. Sorry. I'm just shoving the ends in there. Might as well use them as extra little stuffing. And this ear is still like a little bit more narrow than the other one, but it's close enough. It works. So this little tiny bit of pink that I'm using for the inside of his ears is another natural fiber, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not really sure what it is. It was one that was spun up by somebody else that I have in my stash, and I think it's a wool, but I'm not sure. And I'm just using this little tiny bit in his ears, give that little pink color. It looks so cute with his ears on. I think I said earlier I was starting on the feet. Yeah, I did say that. I guess I was wrong. I was starting on the ears, and now I'm starting on the feet. He's got his tail, he's got his body, his head, his ears. So now I'm working on the feet. And then I have the two humps to do. And the humps were one of the things that I thought I had recorded and I didn't. So once he gets his legs, the next thing you see is him done. And his feet, the base of his feet actually have, I used another piece of that fabric I used earlier with a little bit of rice in it, and that's in the bottom of each of his feet so that he has that. It's not very much. I mean, it is really slight. I honestly, I don't even know why, but they had said to put, you know, weighted pellets in the pattern, so I put a little rice in there for weight, and you can also kind of mold it a little bit so he stands a little bit more stable. And after I get him actually all put together, his head was hanging. He looked like he was grazing because he didn't actually stand up like in the picture in the pattern. So I had to do a little finagling. Ended up putting some stitches into his neck to pull the neck together and get his head to turn up. So it ended up working out, and he came out pretty cute, if I do say so myself. So here I put his little foot all together. 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. I think he likes them. He's so adorable. Isn't he cute? Oh my gosh. I think he's just so absolutely adorable. There's this cute little tail, and he's got his humps on, and he is soft and fuzzy and smells really yummy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure and hit like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Click the notification so that you know when I'm doing different videos. And, you know, let me know if there's something you'd like to see me try and do, and I'll do it. So, see you soon.